to my YouTube channel, One Race, a Human Race, All Human. Today is Friday, April 1st, 2022. You must overcome the Southern strategy with love, bringing people together, reminding people that there's one race, a human race, and that everyone has a right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness on this planet known as Earth. Everyone. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
I will tell you, Joy, I experienced great joy when I watched this brilliant, phenomenal Black woman, jurist, be so smart and just cut through the political gamesmanship that they were attempting to incite. And she just was composed. And as far as I'm concerned, was taking a whole lot of people to school.
That was Vice President Kamala Harris telling me how she felt watching the Supreme Court nomination hearing for Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. And joining me now with a reaction, Democratic strategist Juanita Tolliver, Kurt Bardella, advisor to the DNC and the DCCC, and Michael Beschloss, NBC News presidential historian. Thank you all for being here. I truly, truly appreciate each and every one of you. Juanita, I am going to start with you. Your reaction to the vice president's reaction, because in a way, I guess she was all of us.
She was all of us and truly reflective of what we were feeling in that moment, watching Judge Brown Jackson essentially take these Republicans to task, at one point saying, "Senator, I've said what I'm going to say," and just being clear. And I think the vice president had the same appreciation that we all had for that. But Joy, I have to say, it must have also been a little bit complicated for the vice president, as she was a prominent force on the Senate Judiciary Committee. And we can all only imagine how she would have also went to task against these Republicans and defended Judge Brown Jackson in the moment. And that just reemphasizes the need for Black women to be a part of the Senate body, for Black women to be there in the Senate Judiciary as well, so that they can have that presence. But I appreciate that the vice president watched it with joy and glee, like a lot of us.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Kurt, I'm going to come to you next because, part of me thinks that in their own minds, people like Tom Cotton and Josh Hawley and, Lindsey Graham, they feel like they won big, right? Those performances they put in, they feel, well, QAnon loves them now. They are now the QAnon senators. But, big picture, they showed a side of themselves that just reminded everybody who isn't a white man, this is a very new Senate where they don't live in a past in the 1950s and 40s, but they seem to wish they did. They were offended that this Black woman was even there. And you could tell. And they showed everybody that. And now voters who are going to go into the ballot box in November know that about Republicans.
Yeah, Joy, I really think that for all the prognostication we hear about what's going to happen in 2022, if the Republican Party shows themselves to be the face of Josh Hawley, Tom Cotton, Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, Marsha Blackburn, if that's the face of this party and that's the way they're going to conduct themselves, they're taking out a big billboard for every voter to see the absolute worst of the Republican Party. And I think that is something that is going to repel voters. I think it's something that's disgusting. I think anybody who is watching that proceeding, who has just any common decency in them, watch that shaking their head. Watch that feeling what all of us, I think, felt watching it. The disrespect, the overt sexism, the racism, the dog whistling. I mean, these guys basically just took the white hoods off and said, this is who we are, and they're proud of it. They're high-fiving one another. They think that they won that day. They think this is a good thing. And I'll tell you, if that's the way the Republicans think that this country wants, if that's the direction they're going to go, they're not going to have the night in November 2022 that they think they are.
Michael Beschloss, when I watched it, I have to say, I sat through every day of it, and it was painful to watch because I was so angry on Judge Jackson's behalf. Not just because I know her enough to know that she is a good person, but also I was angry on behalf of every single Black person and Black woman in America, because I felt like I was watching Senator Eastland I felt like as I saw Lindsey Graham snarling and barking into the camera, and Tom Cotton sneering at this woman, and the bizarre charges being dropped by Josh Hawley, it felt like I was watching old Strom Thurmond. And it wasn't just their accents; it was their attitude. It is, to me, ironic that in a way, the current Republican Party is the Dixiecrat Party, made more modern. Am I way off? Because that's what I felt when I watched it. What did you feel when you watched it?
I felt exactly the same thing. I think they're not as subtle as the Dixiecrats were, that racist offshoot of the Democrats in 1948 under the banner of Strom Thurmond. And Joy, till the day I die, I will remember your voice in my ears saying that those Republican senators treated her like a black shopper who was going through a store and being followed. That's exactly what this was like in the year 2022. The clock is being turned back. We have to do everything we possibly can to stop that from happening. And if you don't mind my saying, making a historical comment, that interview you just did with the vice president, I loved it because here you were talking to her in the state in which Emmett Till, as you said, gave his life. Those three civil rights workers in 1964, Goodman, Schwerner, and Cheney, gave their lives, and centuries of enslaved people suffering and in many cases giving their lives. I'd love for all of them to come back and see the two of you talking that way. Dr. King said famously, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. Any of us who've been living through the last 5 years, much as we love Dr. King and honor him, may have questioned that, but just seeing that scene of you two guys today down there in Mississippi, you think that perhaps Dr. King was right after all.
Michael, I'll just stay with you for just a moment. I have to say, when I set foot on Air Force Two today, and walked up to the front, and this is really for all of you, but I'm going to leave it for you, Michael, because you are our in-house family historian. I felt something in my spirit, that two Black women never were imagined in the way this country was constructed. This panel was not imagined. But there we were, and there she was. This Black woman is the second most powerful, holds the second most powerful office in this country. She is Vice President of the United States. That is her plane. That is her plane. And she had a staff of young and older. She had people of color. She had women, Black, white, brown. It was beautiful to me. Just give us, to wrap this segment up, and I know we're going to have more. When people say originalism, I kind of cringe because we weren't included in the original idea of this country.
No,
she wasn't
right.
included. What do you go ahead and wrap this segment for us? What do you think when you hear people insist and demand that someone like,
It's sickening what we saw with Judge Jackson. But even the scene of the two of you down in Mississippi and flying down there today, how many years did that take? 230? America works, but it is much too slow. Why did it take all this time? First woman, first Black woman, first Asian American woman. That was not supposed to happen. Our system is supposed to be a little bit more responsive than that when it works. But at the same time, I think we have to say, anyone who watched Judge Jackson or the two of you today, how could you not love what you're seeing and feel that, for all the things it doesn't do well and all the wrongs and all the dangers to democracy that all of us are living through at this moment, at least it brings us scenes like that.
Absolutely. Lindsey Graham, Tom Cotton, Josh Hawley, look at this screen. This is the future. This is the America that you're trying to stop.
Absolutely.
And you cannot stop
Absolutely.
it. This is what the future looks like. Don't go anywhere, because up next, our panel, wonderful panel, will address some of today's top stories, including the sizzling jobs market. We'll be right back.
Let me remind everyone that on April 4th, 2022 will be the 54th commemoration of the assassination of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who helped to bring about this day and what they were talking about. We live in a multiracial, multicultural country the greatest country in the world, and we live in a country where we seek equality for all. And it is happening. Slowly, but it's happening. And people, all people really want the same things. Peace, security, housing, education for the kids, safe neighborhoods, I mean, you name it, jobs, free healthcare, like most industrialized world has already. When you do that, what happens? You can start businesses left and right. You don't have to worry about it. It's like the VA hospital that takes care of our veterans, or like the members of Congress who have their health care, right? So we need the same thing here. America is a melting pot. America, as Dr. King said, is a dream. And it's a dream that's becoming a reality as everyone moves forward to see if there is really one race, the human race. We're all human beings. And everyone on this planet known as Earth has a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Thank you for being on my YouTube channel. One race, the human race, all human.